Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek. I'm your host, Loredude. Here to try and lore it up. Lore. Should make a song about that. So, I don't actually have much news to talk about this week, which is kind of nice. Let's see. Shovel Knight's gonna have their thing. We finally have a release date for Shovel Knight, so that's nice. That's coming out next April 9th, I want to say. PAX West is going on right now, and so is Dragon Con. Both of those are active at the moment. My sister and my niece went to Dragon Con and apparently had a lot of fun. My niece was adorable, so she came to wake me up this morning. And now my niece has basically a carte blanche. If she needs to, get me for any reason, she could do so. The only catch I always say is, make sure it's something important. Because, duh, right? But I've always wanted to make sure and emphasize, if you need me, I'm here. So she was like, oh my gosh, I gotta run down, and I'm like, oh god, what? Yes, I'm awake, because this is really early. The sun hadn't even risen yet, that's how early it was. And I'm just like, yes, what's up, kiddo? Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm okay. Well, what's going on, kiddo? Oh, I just had to tell you about going to Dragon Con. And so then she starts telling me, all of the stuff she did at Dragon Con. And apparently she had been so excited to tell me about her day at Dragon Con, which was yesterday, that she just had to wake me up at the crack of dawn, before dawn, actually, in order to tell me all about it. It was extremely adorable. I'm glad she had fun. Let's see. There's a new Acquisitions Incorporated tonight. I'm looking forward to that. It's one of the few things I really look forward to in my life right now. I mentioned Shovel Knight. What else is going on? There was a whole bunch of Anthem panels. Have you guys noticed that? There's all this Anthem stuff going on at PAX West right now. And what's funny is I looked at it and I'm like, okay, well, I'll care about that sometime next February. For those of you not aware, they're going to have some kind of a demo beta thing going live next February. So, we'll see when we get there. And you guys will decide if I give a damn, really, because that's up to you. What else? There was a Diva vid, which I actually didn't comment on. And I wanted to comment on that briefly. I decided not to do a full analysis of it like I normally do, because frankly, it just wasn't as good as normal. And I don't know. I mean, it was certainly high, decent animation, decent, Pixar quality and all that stuff, but the Blizzard standard of quality in, foreshadowing or subtlety or symbolism just wasn't there. It was like, all right, so here's Diva, or whatever her name, Hannah, I think, and here's this other guy, and the moment you see the setup, it's like, exactly where everything's going and what's going to happen, right? That's okay. It's nice. What else? I guess that's kind of it. Like I said, for a week in which both Dragon Con and PAX West are happening, I have nothing to talk about news-wise. I could talk about Verizon and how what they did was kind of disgusting, either from a negligence perspective or an evil perspective. But honestly, that story tells itself. I don't really need to add to that one. Instead, there are two things I want to talk about predominantly this week. Just kind of jumping into this here. So first and foremost, the floodgates are officially open as of 15 minutes from now. There will be a video that I've already scheduled to go live in 15 minutes, and that will be that'll be going live on Patreon, and that'll be the opening of the floodgates nomination cycle. I'm going to go ahead and basically leave the floor open if anybody has any questions about the floodgates, or any comments, or if you just hate me, or whatever. If this is in your thoughts or hearts, you can just go ahead and share them. I don't mind, really. As long as it's honest, that's the part that matters. So, yeah, floodgates, woo! And what else? I guess that's it. So let's just go ahead and jump into this, because really, I don't have anything else to talk about. I imagine it's going to take a while, so let's go ahead and just pause the music. Let's switch over here. And we're going to switch down here. Okay. So first and foremost, I want to make this very clear. Hang on, we're going to go ahead and shove that up ahead for a moment. I'm going to shove myself up for a moment, too. Hi. Now, the way we're going to do this, I'm going to be over here in the corner, kind of pointing this out. No, actually, nudity is a PG-13 depending on its application, and in this case, I think it qualifies. So, we're going to go ahead and be talking about Cyberpunk 2077 because they released like a 48-minute, 22-second trailer, which is this thing right here. Now, we got to resize this a little bit because it's the weirdest thing ever. Seriously, the actual size of this video is kind of aggravating, so we're going to do this. We're going to make it super tiny. We're just going to watch it like this. Is everyone cool with that? Just have it kind of in the background like that. No, we're going to do this. What are you linking me, Hazardous? So yeah, let's just jump into this. Obvious PG-13 warning. Like what, Max Time? Can you name anything that happened this week that is newsworthy? Because I can't. That I haven't already mentioned. We have a release date for Shovel Knight. Cool. Anthem's coming out sometime around early next year. Okay. And if you get anything else, I'm listening because I didn't hear anything else. Anyways, so yeah, PG-13 warning. We're gonna be going through this bit by bit. Let's see what we got. Make sure it's unmuted. Battlefield 5 got delayed and nobody cares.
Always clear. Go.
So of course it looks.
The gameplay demo walkthrough of CD Projekt Red's upcoming title, Cyberpunk 2077.
The way he pronounces that weirds me out. Every time I've heard someone try to pronounce CD Projekt Red, they've said it kind of like I just did. Basically, turning the J into this weird pseudo Y. And he just flat out says Project Red. And at this point, I have no idea what to think of that, so whatever.
A narrative-driven, open-world RPG set in a dark version of the future. Before we start, a small but important disclaimer. The gameplay you're about to see is from a work-in-progress version of the game. Everything you see is potentially subject to change.
Quick side note before we even go any further, you'll notice that the work in progress does not represent final look of game thing. Will be there. The entire thing, that watermark is just going to be there. They really, really keep emphasizing how this is not indicative of the final game and they might change their minds and blah, blah, blah. And to me, that means two things. First of all, it's the obvious lawyer covering themselves. But given how much they've been emphasizing this, I think that this is a much earlier development build than we're giving otherwise credits for. It looks relatively polished, but at the same time, I have a feeling that we're maybe another 2 years out before this game comes out at this point. Anywho.
Cyberpunk 2077, you can fully customize your character using a deep customization system. For this demo, we're going to play a female. Keep in mind that what you see here is not final. We just want to give you a glimpse of what will be possible in the released game.
Notice that is the second time he said that out loud, and this is now the second time they have showcased that. So again, you kind of get my point, right? They're really, really emphasizing that.
This is an RPG, so before we get into our appearance, we need to define our backstory. What you choose here will unlock different possibilities later in the game. Also...
Pause. Okay, so real quick, for those of you who have never played CD Projekt, well, who have never played Cyberpunk, there's actually a whole backstory system, which is actually probably my favorite part of character creation in Cyberpunk. No joke, because it offers some wonderful stuff. So you can do it several different ways, but yeah, I love that corporate god. But there's a lot of, you can roll dice for it, you can select how old you are, determines how many significant events you have in your past, and you can pick from a list, and those things give traits to you or stats to you, or it can just be used for role-playing purposes. I love the whole backstory thing here. So here, for example, we have a childhood hero. We could have a samurai rocker boy. We could have a solo of fortune. A solo, for those of you not aware, is basically a warrior. Let's just call it what it is. It's the melee / tank / fighter, I kill things kind of a person. Hence the term, solo. And of course, corporate god, Subaru Arasaka, because of course it would be an Arasaka, right? What else do we got here? Yeah, missing data, alias. I'm not sure what that is. You can twist gender, date of birth. I don't know if you can change your date. Key life event. Now I noticed, so okay, getting back to what I just talked about, in actual Cyberpunk, you can choose a number of events based on how old you are. And here it looks like you don't get to choose that many, at least the way it is currently, because again, this is a work in progress and blah, 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 blah. But as you can see, we only get one key event, one reason for being in the city, and one childhood hero. Now that actually makes sense for a video game perspective, because as I've said many times, a video game is a limited medium of storytelling for obvious reasons, because you have to code and program and design and of course voice act and write every single scenario. You're not a GM, right? A GM could say, here's 50 different options and take notes about them and make all 50 options happen, but that's just not feasible for a video game, so it makes sense to me. Moving on.
Will unlock different possibilities later in the game. Also, you can use an array of different options to modify how you look. These include body type, hairstyle, tattoos, makeup, skin tone, and many, many more. But visuals aren't everything. You'll also be able to customize your initial attribute setup. You'll notice we didn't pick a class. Cyberpunk 2077 features a fluid class system, and you'll be able to modify your class throughout the game. This demo takes place near the beginning of the game.
Now we're going to pause one more second to take a look at these. So most of these stats are super obvious. Strength, con, int, reflex, and tech. Cool is probably one of my favorite things in Cyberpunk. The tabletop, the pen and paper, because cool is more or less literally exactly what it sounds like. Cool is kind of the equivalent of charisma for more traditional D&D, but it's a part of a system that's specifically called the cool check. And it can be used for a huge number of things, and generally changes how people think of you, what you can get away with, whom you can convince of what. There's all sorts of stuff like that. It's a very awesome system, and I am hopeful that Vettel just spun out. I am hopeful that they can use that to good effect, because some people I've noticed tend to approach cool as your reputation, basically, which is not true. Cool can both, in my opinion, as a GM, cool can both be something that raises and lowers your rep with someone. If you are just too cool for someone, for example, they might actually have a lower opinion of you, or might think of you less, or may be more antagonistic towards you because they view you as a rival, that kind of a thing, right? So there's a lot of things you can use the cool factor with, and I'm hoping they do some cool stuff with that, no pun intended. Moving on.
And you'll be able to modify your class throughout the game. This demo takes place near the beginning of the game.
Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to be pausing this a lot to talk. If that's a problem, then you shouldn't be watching this.
V and her friend Jackie, along with a netrunner named Tiba, are hired to find and retrieve a missing person, a girl whose locator implant went dark.
First thing I'm going to point out to you guys is something that I think I'm covering on the screen. Yep, I am. Give me a second to move my webcam. This right here. You see this? This is a very minor point, but I really want to point this out because this is a skip button. That means you can skip cutscenes. Just pointing it out. Back to the show.
It's clear. Go.
Now, we're going to pause one more time. I'm telling you, we're going to be pausing a lot. Let's look at the UI here. So we can see most of our standard stats aren't really showcasing here, but we do see there's a couple of things, and I don't know how much of this is going to be malleable. However, based on Witcher 3, because you can turn off a lot of the UI in Witcher 3, I'm guessing most of this is going to be turn offable or turn onable in-game. That's just pure presumption based on Witcher 3. However, so we've got our basic bars in the upper left for obviousness. We have the person who we're on comm with just below that, and it shows who's speaking and a little number thing there. We've got the standard radar at the top, which of course shows us our quest marker, and in the upper right it shows us our current quest thing. All fairly quick and easy to see. I wonder if we're going to be able to change the color. I know that sounds like a strange thing. I don't care that much. Red is fine for me, but it just would be kind of fitting for the tone of this kind of a game, because remember, this UI actually is the kind of thing that is in universe, as in this person probably literally sees this stuff in their vision, and such the ability to change that and augment that and whatnot is very likely. We're actually going to skip forward really quick here just to showcase another example of the UI in question here. So as you can see here, we have a couple more features added to the UI, mostly the gun, which is funny because we don't see the gun earlier, but it shows the stats of the gun, the current ammo count, where it's at in its clip, that kind of fun stuff. Here we can see we've switched over to the whatever the hell that is. We can actually notice that there's a percentage bar. Now I actually appreciate that, right next to the health thing. And we have a second bar there. I'm not sure if that's the tech one or whatever, but you notice we actually have 3 bars total. And there's one other spot I wanted to point out. I guess this was it, because we'll save the car stuff for later. I just want to kind of mention the UI features before we move forward, getting back into it. Boop.
77 is a first-person role-playing game. This perspective enables us to maximize your immersion.
Should have full access in 2.8 seconds. Breached it. Your turn.
Órale, lito way, I know.
Alarms neutralized.
It's very pretty. I'm just gonna say that once. It's very pretty.
Is that her? That our target, V?
Room's too simple. Not our girl, I think. Keep looking.
It looks like these scavengers are kidnapping people to harvest their implants.
Which is gross and very normal. Very, very normal.
Things are about to get heated.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, one second.
Okay, things are about to get heated.
So as you can see, right there when we get into melee range, we have the option for a takedown or a non-lethal takedown. Just wanted to point out that that's an option there, which is kind of cool. As you can see, we went with the lethal there. We can pick up the body.
The reflex booster that temporarily allows us to use the Koreznikov ability.
Now, before we talk about the reflex booster and the Koreznikov, you notice we actually have the buff, by the way, in the upper left there in the same spot where the chip was earlier. By earlier, I mean later. I only point out the body, the non-lethal, and the hiding body stuff there because it feels like, based on that, there's going to be some stealth options or stealth missions in the game like this, because that's generally what that kind of mechanic is there for. You knock someone out, you grab their body, and you move them out of sight so nobody can detect them. I mean, right? Deus Ex, Dishonored, Thief, right? We've all been there. Moving on. Now, you notice we actually have no gun UI here. I'm not sure what to think of that. I don't think that's deliberate. I think that's just a feature of this being an early build.
This is Koreznikov.
So there's the adrenaline mode. Exactly as it sounds like. Hi, Tessie. Let's take even more drugs there. That was a healing drug, if you didn't catch that. I wonder if he can be interrupted while doing it. Now you'll notice on the minimap, or excuse me, the radar, we actually have a separate thing specifically for our party member there.
Cover! My cover!
Nice little step there. And they can shoot through walls. Don't know if that's going to be a regular feature or if that's just a scripted thing, but either way it's cool.
Can't see shit! Got none to fucking you!
Oh, Jesus. This definitely fills me with some fear. Thank you very, very much, Jaludo. As ever, much appreciated for those Twitch Prime subs. Thank you. Yeah, this is a full auto pistol. I don't know if they're all going to be that way. We only see what, like 5 guns in this whole playthrough, so I have no idea what kind of variety we're going to end up having. As for the numbers popping up, first of all, I imagine that's probably going to be an option. That's, again, that just feels like their style. But second of all, numbers popping up like that don't mean anything to me, for or against, so I have nothing to say about them.
Room he's in looked out on the balcony. Got a window on the left. Go!
I'm guessing we're going to have periodic terrain destruction. Because, if I could pause for a moment to talk about that. Full terrain destruction is just kind of infeasible. There's just too many things to deal with. Yes, I have Cyberus Rex. There's just too many things to deal with when it comes to terrain destruction. However, if you have scripted terrain destruction, you basically have all of the advantages of a manually crafted system. Because at that point, I mean, prices always go down, Dream Whisperer, so yes. But nothing specific, no. Because that way, like, for example, you could have a specific hallway or a specific corridor or a specific level, and you can actually manually craft this level and then say, okay, this wall and this wall and this wall, and this stuff here is all destructible, and basically flag that as destructible, which allows you to, you know, the player will still have the option of destroying or not destroying at their will, but it's a little bit more contained than letting everything be destructible. That's just my opinion of how they should do it. I have no idea what they're going to do or not. Full, to explain what I mean earlier by full scripted destructible, full scripted destructible basically means the terrain is not actually destructible. It's either destructible because of a specific scripted event, like the guy shooting back at us that we saw earlier, or because of something that where they actually want you to shoot through the wall at something, and therefore you have to shoot through and then it all views at you. That kind of a thing. So I think we'll have the middle ground, but that's just my opinion. Boop. That little sequence right there is why this game needs co-op. Needs co-op. Now, I'm sorry. I know I'm a huge advocate of co-op, and I tend to speak favorably and positive of, you know, good co-op design. But in case you missed that, let's just cover that real again. So what was happening is this guy basically had us locked down because he had a full auto, and he was just, you know, he was partially obscured and covered by terrain. We use our third person, our Netrunner, in order to get us an access. We go over here. Look back a little bit more. We start shooting him, which distracts him, which allows Jackie to go in and actually melee pound him and deal with him in melee. Now, that's a pretty classic maneuver, a very, very typical pincher maneuver, and it's the kind of thing that just screams being on Vent with someone or being on Discord with someone, being like, hey, can you go do this? Right? Can you go around here and hit this area? I'm going to go distract him over here. Co-op missions I would accept, but it would always be less than a full co-op campaign. Full co-op campaign is definitively what I want. Anyways.
Won't be needing this anymore. Pussy.
Layout shows only one room left, the bathroom. Go.
Oh yeah, so this is gross. This is just gross.
Cabrones.
This is just horrible.
Think I got her.
Now it's really horrible. Watch her eyes. You notice how her eyes are still kind of moving there?
No, in a minute. Jacking into Biomon.
So... yeah.
Sandra Dorset, NC 570442. Got a winner. Or she will be if we can get her to a hospital. Sheesh. Trauma Team Platinum, too.
Platinum? Shit, TT should have swooped in if she sneezed.
Something's jamming the Biomon signal. Talk to me, T-Bug.
Virus, probably. Locate our neurosocket. Should be a shard slotted in. Shit's probably on that. If we clear it, free up the signal, TT could actually drop in, take her off our hands.
So you notice we had a choice there.
Removing it now. Done.
Greetings, Sandra. An emergency evacuation unit has been dispatched and is due to arrive at your location in 180 seconds.
Biomon claims trauma will be here in 3 minutes.
Like the fucking cavalry.
Partially, but not fully, Magister.
The plan will cover 90% of the projected costs of your rest.
So you notice we again had an option for how to deal with her.
Mierda, she's flatlining.
Apparently we made a mistake here. So once again,
Air hypo.
another option.
Get China.
She's stable.
Seriously, Cyberus? Did you not hear me earlier talk about how many games I've run in this setting?
Get her outside. I'll cover you.
It turns out a virus disrupted the girl's locator implant. We've fixed that, and now help is inbound.
Swarm of the sons of bitches, 2 vans full, just pulled up outside.
Fuera. Get her out. Terrorists.
Oh, you just got here. Gotcha. So here they come.
Stand clear. Landing.
So yeah, as I was going to point out either. Hello.
Place the patient on the stretcher.
Yeah, for a platinum level, she's probably corporate, but whatever.
5 steps back. Now. I said step back. PT-133 to control. Patient NC570442 secured. Stimulants being administered, 70 milligrams dopamine, 110 norepinephrine, 800...
I could, Aeronaru, but I'm not going to.
Hey, give us a lift out of here? No problem.
So anywho, yeah, there's air cars, but they're not actually all that common. The people with the money and the power have that kind of access. That's why they can actually have someone show up basically in 180 seconds with reasonable certainty, because they have access to that kind of equipment. Anywho.
Cutting connection. T-Bug out.
Well, that was easy.
All clear.
That was Trauma
Just you
Team,
and me blow.
a kind of high-end premium medical
Don't
insurance.
have much time from what Bug said.
We've delivered the target, and T-Bug has notified us that the scavengers have called in reinforcements. Let's get out of here before they arrive.
I got the eddies for new wheels now. Eyeing something real fine, too. How about you, Heiner? Probably blow it all on booze in 3 days.
Talking about somebody else, Jack. You cleaner than a cunt out of combat.
Now I'm going to pause real quick here to mention one other thing. If this was a typical mission or a typical run, I just want to point out that at that point, the alarm bell would be going off in the back of my mind, because that kind of a person who's being grabbed by a bunch of scavs and actually had her thing blocked, that's too high tier for them. For someone who actually has that kind of access, that doesn't make sense. So this sounds like someone else tipped off the scavs in order to go after this person as part of a proxy interaction, because that kind of thing happens all the goddamn time within this setting. This is basically proxy war, the setting. Anyways. Notice the skip button. I know I'm hiding. It's like over here somewhere. But yeah, exactly. That totally sounds like an assassination or something. PG-13 warning, like I mentioned. Oh yeah, and of course it's set in Night City. Why would it be set anywhere else?
Cyberpunk is a mature, visceral experience, and as such, it will let you explore a variety of different interactions with the game world. And as you just saw, its people.
As a quick aside, I hate it when people describe something as mature. Just personal preference.
But first, remember the man, the myth, Johnny Silverhand. Been a year since he went on his last ride. All you gunks sitting in the afterlife nursing that scotch, waiting for something better. You know what I mean.
The job was a success, and V obviously has some money to burn.
I could absolutely discuss the economics of this setting. I'm not gonna, but I could. Real quick aside, though. I just wanted to mention this. You'll notice that they have a vending machine in their apartment. That's actually pretty normal for people at this tier. From what I understand, and from how they presented the whole video, we start off as ground level. We are just barely above the thugs on the street. And the only thing that puts us above the thugs on the street is the fact that we have a team and are actually decent at it. Hi, Rax. I haven't seen you in my stream in weeks. Jesus. It's been a while.
V, look, I need to talk to you. That news as big as my balls.
And I got a hot date with my Ripperdoc.
Come on, Heiner, make the doc wait. Pull some pants on your culo and get down here. Subway entrance, and bring your iron.
Okay.
Of course we are hazardous. We don't own anything. Are you kidding me? Do you know how hard it is to own property in this setting? It's about as hard to, I don't know, procure meat. No, seriously, meat is actually a super rare, valuable thing. Several thousand. Oh god, I forget the slang. Euros in order to get them. Anyways, so really quick aside here. I'm just pointing out that once again, they have lots and lots of quest markers. You can kind of see all of them on the screen right now. There's the things we need in the upper right, and all of the markers you can see being highlighted on the edge of the screen. Pretty typical radar setup. What I wonder is how much that's turned offable. Now, as I've said before, just really quick, eddies, thank you. But yeah, euros. We always called them euros when we were just playing. Eddies. Anyways, real quick aside, I've talked about this before, so I'm just going to reiterate very quickly. The idea of proper quest design is the idea that if you've designed the quest properly in terms of the dialogue or in terms of the visual layout or in terms of the level design, you don't need quest markers. In other words, if those quest markers are turned off, you're not really missing anything. Now that's proper quest design, and I can name a few games that have done proper quest design like that. However, what I am hopeful is they do not do the thing where you have to have the quest markers because there's nothing else to indicate where you need to go or what you need to interact with. We'll see as we go forward through this. Boop.
Jackie has just told us that he has some big news for us, and we have an appointment with our Ripperdoc today. Before we leave, let's take a good look around our apartment. Good morning, Night City. The song on the radio is by Rock...
Sorry, real quick. I've actually already shown off this background right here because when we did the earlier drive-through thing, when I did the analysis of that trailer, I was pointing out several of the things. We have actually seen this view. I know this sounds weird, but like, so picture, here's the viewpoint. I'm the viewpoint right here, and then the view is right here. We have seen that view from over here, from like a train that was going by this way. Just thought I'd point out that we're showcasing the same area here.
Good morning, Night City. The song on the radio is by rocker boy Johnny Silverhand. It's part of our creative process to draw inspiration from the pen and paper system created by Mike Pondsmith, and to put our own 2077 spin on it.
Pondsmith is awesome. I just want to say that really quick. Like, a lot of game developers and big names in game development tend to be kind of jackasses. Pondsmith is cool. I just wanted to give him credit where credit is due. Really quick aside though. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this commenter. They should have just hired me. Some nobody they've ever even heard of. No. What I wanted to point out, can we change from imperial to metric? But the Ripperdoc is 207 meters that way. Hi, LM. Welcome back. Yes, he has worked with Spectre. At least I think he has. I shouldn't actually say that with such definitiveness. What was the other thing I was going to point out? Daytime. For marketing purposes, it actually makes a lot of sense for me for them to showcase this game, this demo right here during the day, because Cyberpunk is almost universally being showcased as a nighttime thing. If you look up Cyberpunk right now, if you just look up Cyberpunk 2020 or 2010 or whatever, most of the graphics or most of the artwork you're going to see is all at nighttime. Right? I just point that out because I like the fact that they're showcasing that their days still exist and that the game won't be set exclusively at night. I know that sounds like a weird thing to comment on, but it is a nice touch. Moving on.
Let's go grab our gear. Okay. We'll take V's trusty pistol.
Oh, sorry.
We'll take
DPS, points, accuracy, rate of fire, recoil, spread, range. Just bam, bam, bam. All very simple and very easy to see. We also see what I think, asterisk think, is the rarity of the weapon, which is 3 out of 5. You can see that right under the rare weapon part there. I'm not sure about that, but I just thought I'd point that out. Also, and this is very cool, notice there's a button to just equip it rather than just take it. So, I'm sorry, I love that kind of... Or penetration, sorry, penetration. I love that kind of convenience feature when it comes to a game. Being able to loot something or being able to straight up equip something. And of course, this is a Federated Arms Vindicator, which is actually a pretty decent pistol. So, like I said, we're not completely gutter trash. We're a few steps up because we have stuff like this. Anyways.
V's trusty pistol.
Accuracy.
And also grab our jacket. Since Cyberpunk 2070...
So you notice that one, this is why I say I think that's the rarity, because you notice this one, which is uncommon, and green instead of blue. So again, we've got 2 levels of visual indicators, is at a 2 out of 5 instead of a 3 out of 5. We also notice it increases our street cred, leveling speed by 5%, physical resistance of 30, thermal resistance, EMP resistance, chemical resistance, which pretty much covers it. So, gear.
7 is an RPG. The jacket not only provides us with protective stats like armor, but it also increases our street cred. Street cred is a form of experience the player acquires by completing side missions. It is used to unlock new vendors and content throughout Night City.
So again, that kind of showcases the difference between street cred and cool, as I was indicating earlier, because street cred is basically reputation, and more people are going to pay more attention to you the more cred you have. Duh. I don't know what I think. Like, I like the idea of street cred. I like the idea of reputation in general. We'll see how they go with it, because yeah, as Huthor says, street cred might be completely mandatory to progress. At least without doing a challenge run. Or, I don't know. Also, Elam the Great, normally I'm totally cool with unrelated questions. Right now I'm going to say no because I'm in the middle of doing an analysis. So do me a favor and wait until the next stream, which is going to happen right after this.
Alright, let's go meet Jack. V's current apartment is located inside a mega building. A huge building complex that forms a micro-society of its own. In this timeline, technology and the world have evolved in some ways that seem familiar, but entirely surprising in others.
I mean, there's just some shoes hanging from that pole. Why do people do that? I've never understood that. Anyways.
As an example, in this world, people pay with eddies, slang for Euro dollars. We make sure to root every detail in the world's lore, so everything has its purpose and stays believable.
Quick aside, I'm guessing most of this is cosmetic, and that's fine. I love flavor. I love polish. I love things that help flesh out a setting. But to explain what I'm talking about here, I'm going to actually mute it to make my point a little bit more clear here. Rewind, 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 rewind. So we got some random guy rolling through. We've got those two people talking and chatting. Probably a guy trying to get a hooker based on the context of that conversation there. We hear a little bit of it here. We notice where the elevator is we're trying to reach. There's a vendor right down the hall there. There's this guy currently trying to open up, and then we've got that person. Now, both of them are uniforms. They might actually be Night PD, but at the same time, they might not, because it's not that hard to swipe uniforms in this setting. Bunch of little stuff like this, just kind of showcasing the flavor of the world. Unmute. Oh, yeah, there's another one. Just some random person there. You'll notice some people do have names, but for the most part, most of these people just have titles. I kind of like that, as weird as that may sound, because... actually, I'll just save my thoughts on that because that's pure speculation. Moving on.
A big part of our RPG experience is having a world that is interactive. Here, a generic ad has morphed into an advertisement specifically tailored to V, informing her of the nearest vendor she can purchase the product.
I love that, by the way. He just ousted himself as a British or European speaker there. Advertisement. Sorry.
In this case, it shows us where to find some Nicola soda.
We saw that in the preview too, the cinematic. Cola. Cola. And just my final point here, you notice this is common, 1 out of 5. Just pointing it out. And it's a heal. There's also some guns being showcased there that can be procured. I'd go with the Arasaka, personally, but that's just me.
This is Wilson, one of Night City's many gunsmiths. We won't be checking his wares today, but you can purchase and upgrade your weapons and gear throughout the city.
Now, I'm sorry to point this out.
But you can purchase and upgrade.
So you notice the adverts in there? The advertisements in there? If you'll notice, the one that's currently on the left, it's not all the way on the left, but it's the one that's facing us on the left. Do you see that one? It's an ad for a augment that goes in the palm of your skin to help connect to your gun and give you process. Now, I just point this out because we'll actually be getting that augment in a few minutes here. I don't know if that's deliberate, or if that's just we didn't have that many ads to put up here, so we put one up that happened to be relevant to the thing we're about to get, or if that's kind of foreshadowing. I don't know. I just thought I'd point it out.
Upgrade your weapons and gear throughout the city. Cyberpunk 2077 is set in Night City.
Oh yeah, sorry. This is a loading screen, but this is one of the better loading screens I've done. For those of you not aware, game design has had troubles with loading screens for all of its existence, and hiding loading screens has basically developed an entire sub-development philosophy, culture, whatever you want to call it, of school of thought. That's what there's an entire sub-school of thought when it comes to programming design and game concepts for hiding loading screens. This is not a bad loading screen right here. We've got the ads, we've got audio that can play, we can see out at the stuff, etc., etc. There are plenty of examples I could give of both good and bad loading screens, but let's just move on.
A bustling metropolis located on the coast of the free state of North California. It's a dystopian city where violence and oppression are the norm.
And you notice, sorry, one more thing about the loading screen. So you notice we're all seeing the stuff we've already loaded. This area, this indoor apartment complex plaza thing is already loaded because we've already been here.
It's a dystopian city.
1, 2, 3, and we're already out. 3 seconds, and we're back out into a new area. That is nice.
We are working hard to make Night City a fully realized, seamless open world with no loading screens. Currently, we're in Watson, a former industrial district where crime now mixes with money.
Very strong signal. You kidding me? Damn signal gonked out 3 times. 3 times, yo! It's a piece of shit. Now give me back my eddies.
There's a lot of just flavor here. I'm not going to point out all of it. We'd be here all day. Just soak it in. There's a lot of little details here.
Could be some truth to that.
Now, quick side story. I know I said I wouldn't point out everything, but when I actually... first of all, we've seen this area before, but second of all... I hope so, Aethel, but within reason is usually how that works. For example, I guarantee you that if we were to cheat in this game and add on, oh, I don't know, super speed and clip through walls, we would start seeing really weird stuff because stuff couldn't load quickly enough in order to keep up with us. I imagine with an actual gameplay, unless we do some serious speedrunning, bugging, or glitching, we will not notice the load times. Anyway, so yeah, obviously some pathfinding issues with the crowd, but this is... So, I was actually out doing grocery shopping when basically the last 12 minutes of footage were playing. And I got home, and I happened to pull up Discord, because I usually pull up Discord when I'm out and about, just to see what people are talking about. And people are like, oh my god, it's live! And I'm like, what? What's live? Oh, they've actually gotten to gameplay footage, because they've been doing the data dump thing up till that point. This is the exact moment I fired up my computer and started watching right here. And so the very first thing I see is this giant crowd. Now, can I just say that I love this? I really do. This is Lindblom effect in full form here. I love this idea of looking out and seeing 30-ish people just roaming around this little street corner. It just adds so much to my kind of enjoyment of a game. It's something that's bothered me since I was a kid because I started gaming in the 80s. So, anyways, this is awesome. There's a couple glitches. There's a couple polishing passes that need. You can actually see people glitching over there on the left a little bit, but it is still nice. You'll also notice that people who can be interacted with or have some kind of stuff to do actually have the tag over their head, whereas everyone else is basically not there. Yes, Lindblom effect, it's something I haven't actually added to the Loriums yet. But Lindblom effect is when a game goes out of its way to add background details or polish or lore or setting or whatever in order to try and make it feel more like a real place. It adds to the overall believability of the setting and is a great aspect of world building. As opposed to... the exact opposite, which would be like a SNES RPG, for example, where just about in any SNES RPG, the total number of people in a given city is about 8.
Crowd and community system to create the most believable city in any open-world game to date. The city's streets are bustling with crowds of people from all facets of life, all living their lives within a full day and night cycle.
Like I said, nothing to add here. Just a bunch of gorgeousness.
Okay, there's Jackie.
Fucking finally. Buckle up. Shit's happening.
What's up, Jack?
Dexter Deshawn. Huh? Sound familiar? Hombre wants to talk to you. One of Night City's top fixers, eh? Okay, you see that caddy? Need to walk on over there and get us a job, Heina.
Notice we can say no here.
Fine, I'll meet him. Talk.
I'll be at Senor Ripper's. Good news to me. Good luck, V!
It turns out we've caught the attention.
Sorry. Let's go ahead and say something really quick. The odds of a third-person mode being added are immensely low. Let's just make that very clear. I could discuss the whys and the wherefores, but I already have, so I don't feel like repeating myself. All I'm going to say is that it is immensely unlikely. At best, what we might get is a crude third-party mod that might be added after the game, depending on what kind of mod support they have. And given history, there's a pretty good chance we will get decent mod support, so that could happen. But, you know.
I'll be at Senor Ripper's. Good news to me. Good luck, V!
Oh yeah, and just because everyone's been talking about the first-person, third-person thing, I do think it's kind of crap that we don't have a third-person option. I do. But only because I am in favor of options. First person does not bother me. In fact, if not for the fact that so many people have been raising a ruckus about it, I wouldn't even notice the fact that it was third person. And yeah, what Hans Yolo is pointing out is one of the many reasons why third person mode will probably not be added, because level design has to be designed in order to afford a third person mode. There are simply too many... I know this sounds like a strange thing, but there are actually... You have to approach the design of your game differently if you're going to accommodate the camera being 10 feet back that way.
It turns out we've caught the attention of one of Night City's biggest players, Dexter Deshawn, a fixer, a person who gets things done.
Now, this is probably the only thing that makes me kind of go in this entire tidbit, because Dexter should be like low to middle tier at best, but they keep presenting him as if he's one of the best fixers in the business. And if he's one of the best fixers in the business, why the hell does he give a damn about us unless we are literally being used as cannon fodder for him, which is the only way this would make sense. Anyways, just a small nitpick. Moving on.
He wants to meet up and discuss a job.
Get in.
Let's see what he has for us.
Yo, Miss V, a pleasure.
Hi.
Let's roll.
Nice, Carlos. I didn't know that.
Scanning a serious job just now. Playing gargantuan compared to smashing up a scab home. You interested?
This is pretty much the Witcher 3 dialogue thing, by the way. This is the first time it's really come up. It shows who we're talking to, shows the button press. We're obviously playing on a controller for this particular demo. It's really obvious we're playing on a controller for this demo, by the way. I really hope this will play a little bit differently when you have a mouse and keyboard. And for those who haven't played Witcher 3, that is very simple. There's the options, which are colored differently, and then there's the I want to talk to you more, which is just I want to engage in more dialogue, and those are the lighter colored things, just pointing that out.
Interested, sure. Tell me more.
Well, glad to hear. Before we can start in on this, though, I need to be sure. Sure you all right.
All right. And the nature of this test?
Slot in the show.
Notice there's no option there. Just, yep, okay.
See, got a classic tale for you. Psycho gang, just doing his thing, jumped a corp convoy, got away with gear. Now I need me that little combat bot. They call it the Flathead. Of course, I got the Eddies to buy it, but me and the Maelstrom boys ain't the best of friends. No flow to our convo, see?
Sorry. So I wasn't going to comment on most of the side info. It's just cool info. The one interesting part right here is that right there. So for those of you who are wondering the level or extent of how much the corps have power in this setting, first name Meredith, last name Stout, Senior Operations Manager. Do not delay, detain, or arrest for any offense. Now, if you don't quite get what that means, to make this 100% clear, this woman could walk down the streets and shoot people with impunity. Now, she doesn't, and if she did do that, the corp might have to bring her in and have a few conversations with her, but she could do that if she needed to. She could just... I also like this this level style of briefing. It's kind of cool. Anyways.
Our convo, see?
Oh yeah, notice the contact added too.
Who's the woman?
Corporal agent. She's on the hunt for the dogs who sold the Gangoons info on the convoy. Got herself a prisoner. Her chief suspect, most likely. Going on 20 hours since the convoy was jumped, and she still don't have no guilty party. Gotta be desperate by now. Be wise to think how you could use that.
There are governments, but for all intents and purposes, the corporations, the corps, are the governments, yes. And... don't have anything else to add to that. Quick aside, again, another little setting point here. This guy's a fixer. For those of you not fully familiar with the concept, he's the guy. He's the go-between. People come to him and give him jobs, and then he gives those jobs to people who actually do them, and he takes a little bit of a take. So he's the contact point for a lot of people on both sides of the equation, if that makes sense. And knowing a good fixer is pretty much invaluable to Cyberpunk. Knowing several good fixers is amazing in Cyberpunk. There's also... whenever I played this, I don't know if there's going to be this in this game, but whenever I played Cyberpunk, as in the pen and paper, there was a kind of a running cultural rule, not a literal rule, but a cultural rule, where you don't go after fixers. Like, unless they really screw up, you leave fixers alone, because fixers pretty much keep the world running. The system, the economic infrastructure of Cyberpunk relies on fixers so much that the death of any fixer is usually a pretty big deal. Anyways.
Got any questions for me?
Clear on it all, I think. Time I got to work.
Beautiful. Here's hoping my inkling checks out.
So, see you at the afterlife soon as the job's done.
Do good, and this'll be the start of a beautiful friendship based on heaps of eddies.
It seems Dexter has given us a test of sorts to see if we're worthy. He wants us to retrieve a piece of high-tech combat gear a local gang stole from the Militech megacorp. We'll be able to approach this job from a variety of angles. Let's try calling the Militech contact.
Now, two quick notes, really quick. First of all, I just wanted to point out that in that entire conversation with Dex, we did absolutely none of the optional dialogue. That kind of makes a bit of sense because, you know, they're just showing off the gameplay demo, and they probably don't even have those lines recorded yet. But the second thing I want to point out is we once again have the optional concepts. Now, this is skipping ahead a little bit in ideas here, but I have a weird feeling that this optional stuff will change, at the very least, the tone or flavor of the quest as you go through them. So we have the option to contact this woman before we actually deal with them or talk to them or whatever. And in so doing, that leads to a slightly more confrontational interaction later, which may or may not have happened if we had just popped in. Just pointing it out. Moving on.
To see where that leads.
Stout here. Hi. Heard you were looking for some tech. Let's talk.
Hey, everybody shut it! Where is it? Come on, spell!
On the horn? No.
Amateur hour, Jesus. First exit off Skyline going towards the NID. Storm channel under the overpass. Meet you there.
The situation's tricky because the contract giver is a corporate agent who seems a little high-strung.
Sorry, real quick. You gotta fear the core, guys. Thank you very, very much, if and but. Those Twitch Prime subs are much appreciated and much awesome, and your timing is hysterical. Thank you. Yes, Nils Wager. It's complicated. Yeah, so like a Choco Bomb, and for the gentleman, a Strawberry Berry. Remember that fruit and like meat and real products aren't really, like, they exist. You can get real fruit, you can get real vegetables, and you can get real meat. These people aren't getting that.
Before we get down to business, it's a great idea to visit our Ripperdoc.
This is really minor, but I just like the fake light tree there. With the fake light petals coming off of it. Anybody who has any issues with eyes, very minor warning. There's no gore, but I'm just warning you.
Yeah, you. You see this cam, huh? Yeah, got a real whack tape, change your fucking life.
That's nice. No thanks, random NPC.
Crime is a common occurrence. Night City is not a safe place. Life here is not easy.
Now, quick aside, obviously he's showing off the thing, but they have a... Anybody who's played The Division's probably seen this before. Why, Hector? I mean, if you really want him, I might be able to. That's going to be a hassle, but I might be able to. You're the first person who's ever even mentioned the idea. Oh, yay, 34 minutes ago the floodgates opened. So... I'm just pointing out, you can literally see, I'm sure we can too, Krellis, you can literally see that, you know, past events via hologram, which I personally think is actually a pretty good storytelling tool. It's kind of the equivalent of a flashback, except a little bit more in lore. I also want to point out how quickly this guy moves. He even mentions this, actually. The guy over there on the right is talking about it, so you can just see how fast people can move under proper augments.
Crime is a common occurrence. Night City is not a safe place. Life here is not easy.
Looks a little out of whack, babe.
V!
I can release...
How'd it play out with Dex?
Very minor point. You notice that we walked in the middle of a conversation, and the conversation kind of just faded out there. I'm not sure what I think of that. It would depend on whether or not the conversation would continue in the future or whatever. But I do like the idea of plot conversations taking precedence over background conversations. But that also means, as a consequence, as a player, especially when we do the lore run of this, or excuse me, the premiere run of this game, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to go ahead and, oh, they're talking, and just sit here and wait until, you know, they're done talking. Then we'll move forward and talk to them.
It's all here.
All right, I'll check it out while I wait for you.
Yeah, we're going to have to lurk it up, basically.
V?
Yeah, what's up, Cindy?
Dr. Vector, we'll see you now.
Sorry, Misty. Wrong person.
We're at a Ripperdoc clinic. Ripperdocs are specialist vendors who offer people the possibility to install or upgrade their cyberware.
Now, he's going to talk about a bit of this. I'll cover more of this as we're going through it and afterwards, but I just want to mention really quick that, like a good fixer, a good Ripperdoc is pretty damned invaluable, because this person will literally be carving you up and putting stuff in you, so making sure that you can trust them, and that they're good at their job, and that they're putting in good gear is kind of useful. I have actually done a couple of campaigns of Cyberpunk where the players or I have basically said, look, we don't want to have to worry about these people not being reliable. Can we just, like, eject that from the game? Like, can we just assume we have a good Ripperdoc and he's cool and everything he's got is cool? And it's like, yeah, okay, we'll just eject that part of the role playing out. Because, yeah, there's so many opportunities for him being incompetent, having bad equipment, or, you know, betraying you, as Vigilant points out. I'm curious if we'll do anything with that in this game.
Vicky, spry as ever, you old ripper.
Hernandez pounces on the chance, coming in with a couple of hooks. Gaining the upper hand pretty darn quickly.
Need to bump up
It's the same fight that Dex was watching earlier. Just thought I'd point that out.
my specs and get a grip.
Really? Now? Finally?
Vic, shit just got real. Hitting the major leagues. Got a job from Dex to Sean.
The Dexter Deshawn? Yeah, that is something.
Yeah, exactly, Lurker.
But let me guess. Hasn't paid you yet.
Quit crying, Vic. I'll bring you the Eddies later. With interest. You know I will.
Last time, I swear. Now sit.
I don't know, Corrales. Possibly.
That's Karoshi. Best I've got. And should be about right under the circumstances. Now jack in.
Notice you have a little, tell me about the new equipment. Again, just another dialogue option we're skipping over here.
You peruse and choose while I scan.
This is cool.
We're going to install both.
Sorry. So really quick, price, humanity cost, basic information, a little bit of a graphic, and what looks like a clear scrolling. This is just a nice, cool thing that I think is awesome. And I'm really looking forward to the cyber side of this. Now, one quick aside, and I could be missing it completely, but I don't actually see an indicator of what our current humanity is on this screen. And I'm not sure what I think about that. We do see a couple of things. We notice there's actually, if you look, it's really blurry there, but at the top you can see loyalty discount, because we're cool with this Ripperdoc. And there's actually a software side of things that we can see on the left there as well. It's kind of hard to read for me. So again, it says what the mocks do. It says the humanity costs. To my knowledge, they don't really cover the humanity thing in this one. So first of all, Cool Walker asks, is it possible to do a... not really, Dream Whisperer. It's possible to do a clean run. I don't know if it'll be possible to do a clean run of this game. And to stress the way I mean that, cyberware, that is to say cybernetic implants within your body, is so common. It's about as common as these are in real life, if not more so. The amount of people that do not have some kind of cyberware, I'm not even talking about at like the gameplay level. Probably, Seabear. I'm not even talking about the gameplay level. Like, everyday people have cyberware constantly at every aspect of their lives. So... that being said, we probably start off with at least some implants. That's just a presumption on my part. I wouldn't be too surprised if it's possible to do something close to a clean run. I mean, people do Witcher 3 runs where they don't use magic and stuff, right? Or they don't level up or whatever. So that's a thing. I just don't know how much they're going to allow that to be a thing. We'll see. We'll see. Anyways.
With an optical scanner.
Mark 1, like I said. Decent enough scanner. Displays data on your cornea.
And a subdermal weapon grip.
The link's not labeled. And to be perfectly honest, not entirely sure where the hell I got it. Still, looks like it'll talk to Kiroshi Tech.
I'm ready. Carve away.
Okay, all clean. Now for the fun stuff. Lay that Major League arm of yours right here. Just like that. Thanks. Now a bit of anesthetic, and I can start cutting.
Very minor point. Notice the 4 dots on the arm. Just pointing that out for later.
Feel anything?
Notice they're quite literally carving away at our palm right now. Seriously. That's what's happening. He is performing, that device is performing surgery on our palm right now. For those of you not aware, the palm of your hand is one of the most sensitive nerve bundle touches in your entire freaking body. and she's just laying there like, yep, that is some hell of anesthetic. Anyways.
Play by play.
Yes, Ethel.
Dentist. They're always going on and on.
Don't be me now. Remember, I'm old. I got a shaky Gannic hand. Could slip. Lights out for a minute, all right?
Yep. Gotta take our eye out.
Good. So let's test it. Linking you in.
Notice you can once again skip this, by the way. Just point that out.
You might feel a little discomfort.
Now, in case you're not catching it, that's us lying on the ground over there.
Vision, low contrast, glitches.
There we go.
How's it look to you?
With the scanner, we can zoom in on things and take a closer look.
Yeah, Marcus. There's the thing from the trailer. The original trailer. The original trailer.
This is fantastic.
Beautiful. Time for the scanner.
Additionally, we can analyze objects, get details on enemy weak points or gang affiliation.
It might take you a while to adjust, but...
Really quick. I like this. It reminds me kind of a Fallout. Am I covering this at all? Looks like I'm not. So it reminds me kind of a Fallout. Damage type, resistances, predicted threat, weak spot. You know, just a cool little side thing there. I kind of like having that. But as someone earlier pointed out, considering how much basically UI and mechanics features seem to be tied into cyberware, which makes sense, let's be honest, there's a pretty good chance that there's certain cyberware we're not going to be able to avoid taking. For anybody who's... To use another example of the clean possibility, in the Dishonored series, generally you have to take certain abilities, certain powers, in order to progress. Usually just the teleport, for example. So I predict that some of the cyberware is going to be like that. We'll technically have it, but then we could choose not to use it, you know. Anyways.
First time's rarely the charm with anything, really. Scanner should eventually sync with your thought processes and read your intentions. Ought to work like a charm.
Meanwhile, there's the surgery on our hand. That's what they were doing to our hand. Yeah, exactly. Dream Whisperer. Damn. Yes, Cyberus, I do.
Your weapon. You should see your ammo count in a brand new sight.
So
the subdermal weapon grip links to our scanner and shows us weapon information like ammo count and fire modes.
So again, I kind of pointed this out earlier, but there's the actual gun UI, which is directly connected to our cyberware.
It also increases the base damage on all connected weapons.
Shit, Victor. Not bad. I don't know what to say.
Say you'll take this and remember the dosage. 2 whiffs now, and another 2 in an hour.
By the way, you'll notice that was basically completely outpatient surgery. Did you notice that? Now, that makes sense for the setting. The level of medical and cybernetic technology they have is through the damn roof. But it also makes sense from a purely gameplay perspective because it means you can literally sit down and change your cyberware and not have to do like an inpatient, I have to be laid up in the hospital for a week kind of a thing in order to deal with it. Mega Man X8 is a decent game that's nowhere near as bad as X7, so I think it's at least worth a singular playthrough, even though it's kind of blah, but I think you should still play it.
Thanks again. You're the best, Vic.
Go on, kid. Show him what you can do.
Thanks,
Vic. Once
Vic.
you hit the big time, don't forget where you came from.
I mean, I gotta be honest, having a guy like him... Damn. Having a guy like him as a loyal and competent Ripperdoc is the kind of thing that I would totally keep in mind even if I did hit it big. I'm just saying.
While some Ripperdocs operate legally, others provide black market services. For the right price, they can even offer to install illegal military-grade cyberware.
Also, most military-grade cyberware has some very, very severe humanity cost. And there's also people who... Well, we were seeing some later, but there's some people who do what's called a full-body conversion, which is basically exactly what it sounds like. Those people are goddamn dangerous. If you ever see someone in a full-body conversion, that person is basically a boss in Cyberpunk terms. Where's Jackie?
Left a few minutes ago. Said he'd wait outside.
A good question, Leander. That would be an awesome concept. I just want to point this out. This is a very minor point, but in every single moment we've headed outside, literally everywhere we've been, there's been some police presence. When we headed out of the apartment, there were the people trying to break in. When we're going down the elevator, there were people around the corner. There's the actual PD department that was when we went out to the square. Then we went through another area, and we went down another elevator, and then there was like the crime scene, and now as we're leaving this area, there's people right outside. Just thought I'd point that out. The police do have a very, very... Mega Man. The police have a very Mega Man. God damn it, Valerian. Thank you very, very much. I will put it towards both, if that's okay with you. Emperor Valerian has put that towards a run-through, which is something I've been wanting to do anyways, and towards the new mattress, which is great because I'm starting to narrow down the actual purchase of the mattress. You don't just rush a mattress purchase. That's just ridiculous. If there's so many police, how much there's so much crime? Okay, having answered that question.
Well, Kiroshi. Well, Vig's got a soft spot for you, Heina. Come on, how about you use them fancy-ass optics to scan my new wheels?
Actually, I'm sorry, can I share just a really quick story really quick? So the last time I played Cyberpunk, I was playing, not GMing. One of the cyberwares that I absolutely insisted on was basically an iPod that's built into my brain. So I could just turn on music at a whim inside my head with a built-in MP3 player. It gives absolutely no gameplay benefit and did cost actual money and humanity in order to get. But of course I got it, because of course I got it! I have the ability to just listen to music in my brain at a moment's notice. Why wouldn't I do that? And that's actually one of my favorite aspects about Cyberpunk, is it tends to lean itself a little bit more on the role-playing side than on the stats side when it comes to pen and paper systems. There's a lot of stuff you can get that have no gameplay benefit whatsoever, like that. And most of the players I used to play with, or play over, used to like doing that. Anyways, so.
Sure, but you'll have to let me take it for a spin.
Hey, just watch the paint job.
So, driving. Now, descriptors have presented the driving as if this is a GTA-style driving. I don't buy it myself. And the way they present this here is so scripted that I have a really strong feeling that most of the actual gameplay mechanics centered around driving aren't done. And so we don't really know what driving's going to be like yet. We'll see when we get there, but I only point that out because the way they present this driving doesn't actually feel like gameplay, as weird as that may sound. We'll get to it. We'll get to it here. That would be awesome, Hazardous. Wouldn't have to worry about my thumbs at that point.
Hey, carnal! Hey, you got a problem?
This guy looks an awful lot like one of those scavengers we took out earlier.
Agreed, Hector. Yeah, the driving feels a little bit too on rails for driving.
That wasn't no coincidence, huh?
First-person driving mode, a little bit of a UI. Notice we can't actually go super fast, not really, because of course we're in the middle of a city. Really quick aside, though, I want you to imagine driving through this area in actual gameplay. Just picture that for a second. I know that sounds like a weird thing to comment on, but I can just picture the way this would actually feel in gameplay. Oh, we hit the edge. Hang on, we hit the little. No, hang on, back up. Got to do like a 3-point turn to straighten myself back out. Hang on. Okay. Oh shoot, we hit the boxes. Hang on. Okay. This is a very narrow driving area, is what I'm trying to say.
Jackie's car is a super-powered sports car running on Chew 2, the super fuel of the future. Players can explore Night City freely, in many different cars, on bikes, and in other types of vehicles.
The UI is tight. I'll give it that. In reference to what someone said earlier.
This does not look good.
Now, this is interesting.
Puta madre!
Grab the wheel, Jack!
Oh, fuck!
Now, this is fully on rails, and I don't know if this will be in the final presentation of the game, but what I'd like to say is there's nothing here that indicates a button you hit in order to go into take the wheel, Jack. You notice that? It just happens. Watch.
Puta madre!
Grab the wheel, Jack!
See? And then you just go out here and grab your gun. Completely on rails there. I don't know if that's just a thing, if that's how random events are going to happen. I don't know. I do like the idea of random events as you're roaming the overworld. It's something that I like about games like Oblivion and Fallout, for example. So I'm cool with the concept, but I'm curious how they're going to implement it when they get to the final product. If this is fully on rails, then that would mean basically you have no choice but to fight these guys as you're going by, which actually I don't like that idea. I am not in favor of being forced to fight trash. So
it looks like the scavengers from earlier are still angry.
They're pulling ahead, Hyder. Watch it now. Got it. All right.
I think we got rid of him. That was intense.
No, it wasn't.
Shit! The fuck was that? Devils.
Night City never sleeps. Danger lurks around every corner, even in daytime. Random encounters like these are an example of how your actions directly influence your open-world experience.
Now this right here makes me think there will be a third-person driving mode. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it would surprise me if there was not a third-person driving mode, because completely unlike first-person wandering around, third-person driving is a lot easier to implement.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Okay, Jackie.
So, they're done riding our asses?
Scavs? Sure.
Apparently they confirmed it, so there you go.
Looking for a new spot to slice and dice, not gunning after us. But who knows? Real messed up pendejo, Scavs. Saw it yourself.
Many forces are fighting for control of Night.
I'm sorry.
Many forces are fighting for control of Night City, but the mega corporations are the real showrunner. The agent we're going to meet represents Militech, one of the largest companies in the private military sector.
Yeah, Militech sucks.
Remember the corpo off Dex's Shard? Ranger, she's in the area and we're gonna meet.
Let me guess. She's in hot corporal water. Desperate. Then you think you can use that.
Oh, I agree, Plaka. That third person driving there actually looks like someone was really controlling the controller and really driving. So, really quick aside here. Based on the way they're presenting this, and I don't know this with total certainty, it sounds like going and dealing with the corporate at all is totally optional. Now, I kind of like that idea because it's the Oblivion Quest design. You know, something I praised over and over and over and over and over when it came to when I was doing my low run of Oblivion. The all paths lead to Rome. You're always going to end up getting this thing back, but how you get there is up to you. So we could have just completely skipped talking to this lady. No, don't call her. Don't go to interact with her, and just gone straight after the, well, we'll get to it.
See if I can, yeah.
Since Cyberpunk 2077 is an RPG, preparation will be key when dealing with Night City's powerful.
Just like in Witcher 3.
When these are corpos. Instead of just rushing in, let's assess the situation with our freshly installed Kiroshi optical scanner.
There. Let's take a closer look.
Composite armor. Car's a fucking tank. Shit.
Yeah, Militech. No doubt about it.
I love this, by the way. Predicted threat unknown. Higher scanner level required. Now, I both like and dislike that, because I like it because if it was purely in lore, it would just mean that she's got some kind of blocking tech going on in order to make it so you can't scan her. However, I'm not sure I like that because in gameplay, that means that there's going to be different levels. Like you're going to need certain levels of gear in order to scan certain things or interact with certain things. So, whatever.
You sure you still want to meet him?
Yeah, gotta do this. But don't you move a damn muscle. Not unless I start, that is.
I hope so too, Hector. Arasaka.
These guys are levels higher than we are. Let's try to approach them carefully.
Oh yeah, by the way, really quick, I didn't point this out earlier. You can actually see people's levels next to their name. Earlier we saw that the Ripperdoc was level 9, for example. Here we can see these people are level question mark, question mark.
Stout, take it you were the one to call?
Yep. Want it?
Think you're smart? Thought you could blackmail me, bitch? Set conditions?
Calm the hell down. What is this?
I've got you now, asshole.
You're insane. Who the fuck is this?
I'll know in 2 seconds flat. That fucking thing ready?
All set.
Are you here alone?
So notice that they can hack your implants. Now, that's a pretty normal thing in this kind of a setting. So, oh yeah, by the way, sorry, I forgot to point it out. Marks in the arm are still there, which is kind of neat. I wonder how long they'll last. So, you notice we've taken damage as a consequence of this action as well. We could choose to tell the truth or not, but I'm just going to tell you guys this. Speaking as a GM, if someone actually hacks into your hardware and asks you a question, you should probably answer honestly.
Corpos have hacked us through our personal link and have subjected us to a kind of lie detector program. The dialogue system in Cyberpunk 2077 is fully gameplay driven.
I asked if you came alone.
Now notice we have, they're actually showcasing some of our options here. We have what's obviously a non-choice dialogue. Let me go, then we'll talk. We can say, yes, I'm alone. We can say, no, I've got a friend watching over me. Oh, we could grab the gun. Now, the grab the gun option is interesting to me because, again, speaking as a GM, in this situation, if you grab for the gun, you die. So I don't know why they even allow that to be an option unless there is some weird way you can make this work for grabbing the gun. I don't know.
Yep, just little old me.
No, Cyberpunk 2077 is based on Cyberpunk, Gnarlex, as in the pen and paper franchise developed by Pondsmith and several other people who are awesome.
She's lying.
Search the area.
Now listen, folks, we don't need to be here all day. This piece of shit, Anthony Gilchrist, did he or another asshole at Militech leak info to you or anyone else about a convoy?
It might be tempting to reach for the gun, but the consequences could
Got
be
nothing
dire.
to do with him or
Remember,
Militech.
these guys are really tough.
Shit. Checks out.
You got nothing on me. Nothing. Won't get away with this, you bitch. You're dead.
Somebody shut him up.
Take me home. Now.
Possibly, Corrales.
All right. I have no idea who you're working for or what you even want, but you better give me something solid or I will end you.
I've got an offer.
I'm sorry, really quick, you'll notice that one of those options was parentheses, fight, parentheses.
Oh, you are stretching. This better be fucking good.
Gangoons who ripped you off? I know where to find them. They got a bot I want. Give me the funds to buy that bot. You can do what you want with the gang.
I don't give a shit about the thieves. I want my mold. Cred chip, 50K. Just enough to buy you your bot. Thing is, chip's gotta make it into the thieves' terminal. That's all I need. Think you can do that? Then we got a deal.
Fine. I'm in.
Try to fuck me in any way, and I'll be seeing you real soon.
I hate to point this out, but notice she doesn't even have a name.
You're making a mistake.
Unlike Anthony Gilchrist there.
The agent gave us the money to buy the bot we need from the gang. By choosing to call the Militech agent earlier, we have now opened up a non-violent path through this quest. Of course, we could try and keep the money, but that would mean we'd have to take the merchandise by force, which requires a lot of firepower.
Looked a little fishy, you know? Poquito tense. No signal, so I stayed put.
Good thing, too. Went down about like I expected. Made a deal, and we're good to meet with Maelstrom now.
Mm-hmm.
Objective complete. I know, right, Lurker? Yeah, this is so obviously attractive. Now, granted, I know this setting fairly well.
Be there soon. What do you expect?
Hello, Larian.
Corps don't forgive or forget. Even these Borg fucks sense that. Feel the pressure. That's why they're holed up in this shithole, praying to the almighty Trip 6.
How non-violent can Cyberpunk get? Actually, it can get very non-violent. With proper connections, cool, and credit, that is to say, cred, you can talk your way through virtually anything in this setting. Especially if your GM is capable enough and competent enough to be able to design things that you can interact with. So, I think it's totally possible. I don't know if it's going to be possible in the video game, because they're going to have to design the video game in order to allow for such non-violent options. And as we're about to see, spoiler alert, this is about to get very violent.
Gotta move the tech, but they can't. Because your new best friend from the tripped-out, tanked-out SUV is just begging them to try. How you want to do this?
Even now, we can choose how to approach this quest. Do we go in guns blazing, or do we try to negotiate
All right,
for the bot?
plan's simple. We pay with the Corpo's cred and get out.
I don't know, but you're calling this one.
For this demo, let's try the
What,
more
don't trust my
diplomatic
charm?
approach.
Tough shit. All we need's for them to buy it.
Yeah, Hans Yolo, I've noticed that, and again, I don't know if this is an early system thing or not, but there seems to be a pretty big difference between the world and the city. And I'm kind of okay with that. Again, Witcher 3 did that too. When you're roaming through... Oh god, I can't think of the name of the main city in Witcher 3, but when you're roaming through the city, there's tons of people. When you're roaming out and about, you know, in the overworld, you see like one person every several hundred feet, so same kind of feeling. Novigrad, thank you.
Don't know you.
Want to talk to Royce.
Main room. I'm waiting.
Yeah, I like that too, Corellis. We've already seen like 3 options to go violent, and we will see more. Turret. So, we would have to fight through these turrets just to get in.
All strapped with
And
military.
that's mean.
Psycho Borgs chromed out with military-grade hardware worth millions. Should be
The guys we're about to meet are dangerous. They are members of the Maelstrom gang, and their obsession with body modification goes way beyond even this world's standards. On their path to becoming machines, They don't shy away from even the most extreme measures.
Anti-personnel mine. Shrapnel splitter. My favorite.
Gangoon's getting creative with their gear.
It looks like they made this abandoned All Foods meat factory their hideout. Charming.
Another one? Seriously?
Maybe we should have taken him by surprise.
A little late for regrets like that. Got us in their sights now. Just keep moving.
I don't know, Aethel. I would hope so, though. Multiple entry points would be awesome, especially for a mission like this. If you went in the main door, this would suck.
They're just trying to spook us.
Now, quick side note. Notice the Maelstrom Ganger there was merely level 3. Yes, you missed it completely, Larian. You're doomed forever. There is no hope for you. However, the video went live and is already available on the Patreon, so you can go look at that there if you want to.
Chosen to buy the tech, not steal it. Hopefully this will go fast and easy. This is a pretty well-guarded place. You can imagine what would have happened if we'd taken the violent path.
Now, thankfully, it looks like we actually have health instead of this usual Cyberpunk system. One thing I both like and dislike about Cyberpunk as a pen and paper game is if you got shot in the head, there's an extremely high chance that you're dead. Now, that makes sense. If you got shot in the head in real life, there's an extremely high chance that you're dead. But in a game, it kind of sucks that basically on random chance or a lucky shot, you just die, right? So... we have health. We actually have a health meter in this, so that's kind of good. I wouldn't be surprised though if there's either a mod or an option in the game to have basically a hardcore mode, which is more true to the original pen and papers rules, so that if you get a lucky shot, you die. I could see them doing that.
What?
Looking to buy a bot. Model MTO D12. Looks like a spider.
Couch planted. Yo, Kurt, peek around the corner, see if we got anything like that.
Oh yes, 50 grand is a fairly large chunk of cash.
Well, shit. Sit down.
I'll stand. Can't move on your culo. Makes you an easy target.
Sit down.
That really necessary, hombre?
I ain't your hombre. Sit. Sit your ass down before I plant a bullet in your skull.
Jack, sit down.
This ain't gonna end well, but... Shit.
Well, alright. Fucking bravo. Come on, lighten up. Have a whiff.
I mean, do I really need to be taking drugs under these circumstances? You can see the level of augments we have here, at least a little bit. Stuff in his lungs that's probably resulting in... Or stuff in his neck, excuse me. Most of his mouth is gone. Pretty much his entire upper forehead, eyes area is gone and replaced. His arms are completely replaced.
Have a whiff.
So, you can take it. You can pass, or you can say, what the hell is this? Just wanted to point that out because it went by so quickly.
Better. Now we can talk.
The bot. Need to see it.
Nice music too, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, really quick. You'll notice we actually have the buff from the drugs in the upper left. Just pointing that out. Notice it only lasts a minute, just like the earlier one did. And it's ticking down in a cutscene.
State of the art, this thing. Don't even got no standard port. Bells and whistles, though. Dynamic camo armor and motor impulses rivaling that of the human nervous system. Its actuators are actually pimped with titanium fiber, and it can go anywhere, literally. Watch this. Fully integrated link, too, so when the spider starts crawling up walls, dangling from ceilings, you could lose your lunch.
Implication that he's controlling the bot from first person, which A, makes sense, but also B, probably means that if we ever get a hold of any bots ourselves, and there are plenty of bots other than just this spider bot, then we will be able to control them from first person as well.
So, what you think?
Pay up and let's get the fuck out of here.
The bot. I'll take it.
Now, what's interesting is this guy, if you were paying attention, he was just sitting there watching the whole time, and he didn't interact until we decided to buy it. Just thought I'd point that out really quick.
Questions. What the fuck's going on? And who the fuck is this?
Got 50 large on this Kretchen.
And you positively reek of Militech.
I just wanted to pause here to showcase just how many augments they got going on. Most of his face is gone there and completely replaced with the hardware there. Even in this setting, that's bad, as mentioned earlier.
Dexter Deshawn sent me.
Dexter Deshawn. Dreads. Gold plate. Fat old fuck. That him?
Notice you could draw your weapon in the middle of the conversation as basically an interrupt. Just thought I'd point that out. You don't, Hanziolo. That's the problem. For those of you not aware, if you zero out on humanity, if you get too low on humanity, you basically lose it. You turn into a psychopath or a sociopath or whatever you want to call it yourself, and bad things happen.
We'll pay for the bot and be on our way.
How much you say you had? 50K?
Creds on this.
Whoops, sorry. I wanted to pause that to show up the options here.
How much you say you had? 50K?
So, this is interesting to me. This is an option they don't talk about. So obviously, here's the money. We can fight, or let me tell you a little bit about who sent me. Now, I mentioned that because that sounds like we could try to sell out the corpse to the gang here, which would be an amazingly stupid move to do, but I like that it's an option. So,
Creds on this.
Move it.
Poor Jackie.
Ooh, not the smoothest of deals, but it worked out in the end, right? Flathead's good gear. It'll do the trick. Whatever that trick is.
I actually kind of like Dum Dum, by the way. Is that just me?
Shit. Shit, shit, shit!
Notice what happened to the Netrunner who was jacked in while that went live. That, yeah. That guy's dead. The guy who was jacked in is dead. Notice we can literally see the bullets moving when we're in the adrenaline mode there.
It turns out the cred chip we got from the Militech agent contained a virus which fried their system. Royce, their leader, is making a break for it.
Militech had to end this way.
Before we figure out a way to leave, let's grab the splinter that controls the bot from one of these dead Maelstrom.
Sorry, so really quick, notice this is actually a cool thing, and I hope they do more of this.
Royce, their leader, is making a break for it.
Militech had to end this way.
Before we figure out a way to leave.
Right there. You notice we just have a chance to talk to him. I hope we see more just random chances to get more dialogue throughout the course of the quests and whatnot. That would be kind of cool.
Let's grab the splinter that controls the bot from one of these dead...
So, this is actually funny to me. This is the chip to control the spider bot. It is common, which I find hysterical. I'm guessing that they just don't actually have like a quest item thing. What the hell, Corrales? And that's what this is supposed to be, but apparently it's very common. Anyways, moving on. Oh yeah, and also notice the range. I only point that out because it's possible that when you start controlling bots, you'll have a maximum range. Like Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, for anybody who's played that.
Maelstromers.
Inventory, not really much to say about this. Level, street cred, current resistances, current equipment slots. The only thing I want to point out here is that we've got a codex. Of course we do. We've got a quest log. Cool. A bio monitor. Not sure what that's about. The inventory, GPS, duh. Social tab. That's interesting to me. And we'll probably cover things like reputations and street cred. And of course, crafting. Now, I don't know what to make of that, because I've never really dabbled in crafting in Cyberpunk before. And I have to admit that I have a very complicated relationship with crafting in video games, because I think crafting has become a little bit too ubiquitous in game design over the last 10 years or so. We'll see where they go with that.
The inspection system allows us to take a closer look at the splinter. You can inspect specific items to reveal details that can help in solving quests.
Carbon nanotube network code linking the brain to the signal-inducing shard. Use of carbon nanotubes as conductors allows for a reaction time and signal depth equaling that of neurotransmitters in the central nervous system. Multiple devices can be connected to the brain via the same shard. Synapse overload and neuron damage are possible during the neural bridging process. Likely symptoms include user disorientation, muscle spasms, auditory hallucinations, and flashes of light within visual field. Prolonged overload may lead to gradual degeneration of the nervous system and death. Now that might be just flavor. It might also mean that overusing these kind of direct neuroconnectors to external equipment might literally do damage to you, either in the terms of permanent stat loss or just straight up damage. Just thought I'd point that out.
Okay, let's equip the splinter to our chipware slot. With this done, the bot will now follow us wherever we go. All right, what else do we have here?
A green gun.
Nice. A street-modified tech shotgun. Tech weapons fire rounds that penetrate walls and other types of cover. They also have an alternate fire mode that allows you to power up shots and deal more damage.
Probably, Larry.
It looks like there are several ways out of this room, like those gates, for example. However, you'd have to be a skilled netrunner to hack into this terminal.
Looks like they don't show off netrunning at all.
Our engineering skills should allow us to disassemble that maintenance panel so we can get through the door.
So I have a feeling they're not really going to, like, they're not really done with it yet or really to show it off. But I just thought I'd point out that, you know, that's a thing, netrunning, woo. I also like the, you know, again, the multiple paths through a scenario thing. Leaning heavily on the skills, which I like.
There are many skills in the game that players can apply in solving problems. The engineering skill can be used to fix, disassemble, and disarm devices blocking your
Production
path.
lane passes through here.
And we're gonna pass through with it.
Yeah, exactly. Very typical
From
Deus
this
Ex
point
stuff.
on, we're going to unlock the abilities of a high-end character to showcase some of the different mechanics we have in the game.
Notice we once again interrupted with a conversation. So that did a lot of damage. You'll notice each shot basically did its own damage, so like a good shotgun.
One of the new weapon modules we now have installed is a ricochet targeting system connected to our eyes.
Now I'm just going to rewind so you can see that a little bit closer. Junk. So you'll notice this is great. The highlighting to see what exactly you're going to aim for and where you're going to hit them. That's awesome. The very ability to ricochet like that is awesome. I don't have much to add to that. That's just cool.
One of the new weapon modules we now have installed is a ricochet targeting system connected to our eyes. This allows players to bounce bullets off walls and hit enemies hiding behind cover.
By the way, enemies can have ricochet too, so keep that in mind. I don't know, Walker. I'd like to think you can. Grenades, not much to add there.
This is another targeting system that will reveal enemies behind walls. Paired with the penetrating rounds of our tech shotgun, it's a deadly combination.
Notice those guys' legs are literally gone. So, that's a thing.
Looks like we found some
epic weapon. So there's the 4-star sucker. That thing is mean. That's a Keng Tao Type 41. 87 DPS, 12 penetration, 44 accuracy, 15 rate of fire, 2 recoil, 1 spread, 17 range.
Loot. This is a smart gun. It's one of the more advanced weapons in the game. allowing bullets to track and follow their target. It's one of many different weapons players can acquire. Weapons are built of modules that allow for deep customization and progression.
They don't show this off, though.
You can be sure to find something that will suit your playstyle.
The toughest bastards guarding this route. Probably some reason.
So, yeah, tracer bullets like this are mean. I'm guessing. Or homing bullets, I should say, but you get my point. Now, there's still like a accuracy to the tracing, or the homing. You still have to aim in the direction of what you're aiming at. But that's just a crazy kind of a gun, excuse me. Boop. Also, I'm pretty sure the jump we just did there was another augment. Because, yeah. Because we are not Doom Guy. Do some drugs really quick. That was actually a healing drug.
Jesus Christ! My legs!
He keeps talking after you blow his head off. Probably not, Goldwalker. But you never know. There's the jump augment I mentioned earlier.
Everything you've seen and are about to see, including this particular feature we're about to show you, is from a work-in-progress version of the game and may change over the course of development.
Okay, all exits covered?
Okay, let's try something different. We're going to take this guy down and connect directly to his neural side.
Now,
in the world of Cyberpunk, once you are jacked into a network, you have access to everything it connects to. Through this Maelstrom gang member, we've now connected to the gang hideout's internal network. This is the building's personnel system. Let's focus on the squad containing the Maelstrom ganger we just connected to. From here, we can deploy software that affects the whole squad.
Quick rewind in case you didn't catch all of that. So, most of this is just cutscene.
Through this Maelstrom gang member.
This is when you actually start to have options and gameplay. All the little buttons and what they can do. Camera mode, rotate, scan, touch, ping.
We've now connected to the gang.
We do a ping. Yeah, it went by very quickly, but we actually do a ping to see what we can interact with.
Gang hideout's internal network. This.
Now, there's a subsystem that he's connected to, which happens to be Squad 3. Very, very well indicated there.
This is the building's personnel system.
There's the actual specifics of the squad up there.
Let's focus.
And the things that we can specifically do. Get access, reduce aiming, or disable cyberware. If we get access, we expose runtime access to all squad members, Cyber Cortex, unlocking quick hacks. Lots of different stuff you can do as a Netrunner, and I like this because this will make Netrunning more feasible for what is effectively a solo player. Because, spoiler alert, if you've ever played Cyberpunk, if you're a Netrunner, you are part of a team. You cannot do stuff by yourself. This is a nice way to try and make Netrunning more valuable for an individual player by giving them literal, tangible gameplay benefits when it comes to combat, as well as progression. And I do like that. I think that's a very smart way to try and make Netrunning relevant in what is basically a first-person RPG shooter.
It's on the squad containing the Maelstrom ganger we just connected to.
Notice as soon as we select that, probably because of our skill, but maybe it's just scripted, I don't know. But as soon as we select that, they notice us and we're immediately pushed right back out.
Software that affects the whole squad. For now, we'll simply unlock the ability to perform quick hacks.
So these are the quick hacks that I just
referenced. Time to show off our new high-level abilities.
So, running on walls.
With quick hack, using the back door we unlocked a minute ago, we'll
running on walls and staying on walls.
Install a virus that jams the connection between the Maelstrom ganger and his weapon. This will prevent him from firing.
And there's the quick actions, which again allows us to do stuff pretty much on the fly.
Looks like he's having a problem now.
Melee attacks.
Some of you might recognize these mantis blades. We can also double jump and bounce off of walls, which makes us a very agile, fast solo.
Yeah. I agree, Dakota.
Check down here.
one of the problems Cyberpunk usually has is the concept of an open system. Very, very few things are in a closed network. Very few things.
Sweet. We just found a corporate tech rifle.
Now, I'm going to rewind so you can see that really quick. This is merely a rare, but if you actually take a look at those stats, other than the fact that this does not have homing bullets, it's actually better than the epic gun we got earlier. I point that out because I have a really strange feeling that, and this is just pure speculation, that the epic qualifier doesn't necessarily mean it's better in stats, but it is better in terms of basically etc. stuff, right? Unique abilities that make those weapons or equipment more interesting, like the homing bullets.
Sweet. We just found a corporate tech rifle. Corpo weapons are top of the line.
Yeah, this is a gun to kill people in the face.
Let's scan this guy and see what's going on. It looks like Royce is back, and he's prepped. He's got an armored exoskeleton. We won't be able to get rid of him that easily. Our weapons are not dealing a lot of damage because he's packing an autonomous shield. Luckily, the scan we performed earlier revealed a weak spot. Attacking should bring the shield down.
Probably Corrales, yeah. Oh yeah, remember what I mentioned earlier about total conversions? This guy, who is a boss, who we could barely damage earlier, is not a total conversion. This guy is not at that point. And weak spot. I do like the way they highlight the weak spots things, by the way. I've seen that same tech in Division 2. I kind of like it. Once that stuff's down.
Let's finish him off.
Notice that a single shot took out a quarter of our health.
Let's put him down.
Just pointing that out.
This job over. That wasn't the smoothest raid, but we've got the bot, and Dex should be happy.
Yeah, it was in Horizon.
Think back. What would have happened if we hadn't met with the Militech agent? Or told Royce about the agent and her plans? Or just decided to buy the bot ourselves? So many options, so many possibilities. And each will have consequences that will ripple through the game world and your story.
Now, what I'm thinking personally is, well, that's a nice thing to say, because your choices matter has been a buzzword for years now in gaming. What I do have to say about that idea is that's probably mostly, in terms of realism, you know, in terms of what's realistically going to happen, that will probably mostly be involved with regards to your reputation, your street cred specifically. You know, if you decided to screw over such and such or work with such and such, then you lower this cred with them, and as a consequence of having lower rep with them, you don't get this mission, or they interact with you differently on this mission. Basically, that's a way to make it matter while still making it not insane to program. I sincerely doubt that our specific choices in this mission will have specific consequences branching later on, just my opinion.
And that's just one quest. Let's head out and finish the job.
About goddamn time. Let's get out of here.
So, of course, the corps are ready for us immediately. In their tank. We have no guns on us that would shoot through that armor. Just to give you an idea of what I mean when I say that that thing's a tank.
You know, we really ought to work together more often.
Your chip had the clap. That's not discreet. You set me up.
I fucked you over. You fucked the gang over.
And that fills us with fear. Thank you very, very much, Ginger Ninja. Although I never ask for those, I still appreciate those tier 1 subs. Thank you. I don't know what you're laughing at, though.
We're at the start of the story. Somebody fucked the Corp. See how this works now? Only the Corp gets what it wants. Remember that. Learn it. Years down the line, you'll be standing where I am, watching somebody else doing...
Yep, being a
Notice you could interrupt her in that conversation there.
raging bitch to whoever's doing my dirty work for me.
It's time we were on our way, Ida.
Okay, let's call Dex and tell him how things went down.
My girl
The shit-eating
How's our
suits.
biz looking?
Vámonos.
Hey, Mr. Dex. Get us that table at the afterlife?
Matter of fact, I did. Just in my gut and all, you know.
Well, you were right to.
Well done, Missy. Well done. See you there.
Oh yeah, European car, by the way.
Shit, I can't believe it, Ina. Major leagues. We're in. I mean, we fucking pried the door open.
But the only thing I want to pry open right now is a bottle of scotch.
Oh, no. Not another three-nighter. Por favor.
Need to get to know this city, Jack. Not just gun in hand. I'm on a crusade.
Amen, Ina.
We finished the job, but our story is just beginning.
Da-da-da-da-da.
This concludes our gameplay demo walkthrough. Thanks for watching.
So anywho, there's Cyberpunk for us, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if I actually got the message. Nah, looks like I did.
20.
Yeah. So that's the Cyberpunk 2020 or 2077 demo. Now, I just want to mention one really minor thing. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but her comment about, you know, I'm on a crusade. You know, you see that right there? Why Night City? Unfinished business. Don't know if that's relevant or not. So you guys can have your own opinions or not. I'm going to go ahead and say something that's going to make me extremely unpopular. I am not in love with CD Projekt Red like everyone else is. I don't mean that as a negative. I'm not trying to be hipster. But I've noticed a lot of people seem to presume that CD Projekt Red can do no wrong. That they are the best developer in the entire universe. One of the most common things I've heard stated, seriously and jokingly, is we should get a such-and-such game made by CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt Red should make the next such-and-such game, or the next Star Wars, or the next whatever, you know, etc., etc. Yeah, go ahead, Krellis, please. Woo. That being stated, I did like Witcher 3 a lot. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Witcher 3 was not merely good, but was in fact really great. This has impressed me enough that I have a lot more faith in Cyberpunk 2077 than I did before this. Because if you look at their roster, their track record, it's kind of a really weird track record. Because they made one game I didn't like, one game I actively despised, one game I don't care about at all, and one really great game. What? You know, that's just such an extremely strange track record for me. So up until seeing this demo here, I have to be... Yeah, I agree, Bartman demo. Up until seeing this demo, I have to admit that I didn't really have a lot of faith in this game. I was probably going to do a premiere run of it because you guys have literally already funded it now. This game's not coming out for years, and you've already funded this premiere run. But this game does look very good. I am legitimately impressed with what I've seen, and I'm actually looking forward to playing this in the future. And yes, they have made more than 3 games. They have made Witcher 1, Witcher 2, Witcher 3, and Gwent. So, Gwent just doesn't have anything for me. So yeah, I don't actually have anything else to say about this one. So that only took about 2 hours. Jesus Christ. I do hope you've enjoyed my discussion of this. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do something kind of weird. I'm going to go ahead and chop off the local recording because I got nothing else. So